Welcome to the Creator Deal. This is episode one, and basically, what this podcast is about influencers and it's about the creator economy, talking about literally everything and anything related to influencer marketing. And so, you might be asking, what exactly is that? So, if you're a creator yourself, or if you're just interested in listening in on what influencers and creators are doing or how they're making money, or even want to learn the insights with talking to brand owners or even people that work at big companies at like your favorite typical, makeup store or e-commerce store in general, then this podcast might be for you. So today I wanted to first introduce myself. So my name is Jay. I'm your host. I run a influencer marketing agency called True Comma. And the reason why I wanted to make this podcast is because I felt like I gained enough wisdom and knowledge in the industry to kind of talk about what the creator economy looks like in today's world. And just to let you guys know, the creator economy is completely different from what it was, let's say, like 5 years ago, right? So it's completely different. A lot of people are now taking a push or strive to become content creators. And I want to talk about why people want to become influencers or content creators in the first place and why it seems super saturated. And so to preface this, there will be a lot of guests coming onto this podcast. There will be solo episodes. For the solo episodes, it's mainly going to be talking about my stories, talking about who I've worked with in the past, what I've done, and maybe even talk about some of the stories and lessons I learned throughout the way. And so to kind of just go forward with that, I first started as a TikTok creator. So back in 2020 is when COVID happened and everybody was just at home. And I was like, I'm so bored, but I want to do something with my life, right? And so I started, hey, why not start a TikTok? And I started a TikTok and I was able to get a bunch of followers. I think I got up to like 80,000 followers. I don't even know what kind of content I posted. It was mainly like just random comedic stuff. Trust me, it was not thirst traps, okay? Let me just put that out there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just kind of comedic skits, like making fun of myself, I guess. It was like a humiliation ritual at one point. And something that I learned throughout that process was that, a lot of the brands that did reach out to me during that time, I had no idea how to leverage myself. And I had no idea how to actually get myself sponsored. By the way, I completely stopped doing that TikTok account. The primary reason is because I was like, okay, I no longer want to do this, right? I'm no longer in the, you know, in the world of wanting to become an influencer. And there's like a bunch of stories with that. But, the one thing that I realized was that when I was working, I was working at a Korean barbecue place and someone recognized me through my TikToks. But the thing is, what they were speaking like a different language. And so I was like, okay, like maybe they're talking about something, and I was serving them. And what happened was they recognized me and they're like, hey, can I take a picture? And okay, and anyways, like I was locally recognized. I wouldn't say famous. I would say locally recognized, and a lot of people within my vicinity kind of knew that I did TikTok. Here's the thing about that, right? Some people thrive. Some people thrive in that environment. Some people really enjoy that. But for me, I have to say that it wasn't for me. Okay. And and the primary reason is because I just didn't feel like I deserved the recognition, right? The content that I was making, I was basically posting like every day. And I was posting every single day, and it was some random content. There was no value. Like I wasn't bringing anything to the table for anybody. And I was like, okay, what exactly am I supposed to do in this case, right? And so I stopped creating TikTok accounts. But here is the one thing that I did learn from that. So a lot of the times when content creators start, they're like, okay, I want to get sponsored. I want to get brand deals. I want to be able to, make videos for certain companies because I feel like it raises my resume, my portfolio, and it helps me understand. Yes, like I totally understand. That's exactly how you should think. But the biggest reason why I started my company, True Comma, is because I found a hole in that where a lot of the content creators actually, number one, didn't know how to negotiate themselves. Number two, they didn't know how to leverage themselves. Number three, they didn't know how to promote themselves. And so all those three things came into my experience as becoming a TikToker myself. And the experience taught me, okay, maybe if that is the case, then maybe I can do something about that and help the content creators with that certain pain or concern. And that's why I started Truecomma. It's an influencer marketing agency, and basically what I do is I help connect creators or content creators, UGC creators, influencers with top tier brands, right? So I've worked with like Sephora, SeatGeek, HelloFresh, Lily, Peach and Lily, Skin 1004, so a bunch of other brands that I've worked with in the past. And basically what I do is I connect them with the content creators, and then they get paid for whatever video or deliverable that was agreed upon. And something about it, as I was learning more how to do this, over the years, something that I did realize was that a lot of the content creators, they don't do the outreach, right? So they all expect the inbounds to just come in and hope that a brand wants to work with them. And in reality, the thing that you should be working on really is promoting yourself so that the brands can come to you and be like, okay, I want to work with you. But at the same time, you want to promote yourself to the point where if you were to reach out to them, they're like, oh, I sort of recognize who you are. I see where your videos are coming from. And they're like, oh, I see that you have really good engagement rate and you have a lot of followers. Maybe you would be a good partner for our next campaign. A lot of the creators that I talk to, they don't think that about it. I mean, okay, so here's the tough part about this. Some content creators, they genuinely just make content for the passion. And I am totally okay with that. If you just love making content for whoever's watching you, then I think that's totally cool. But for those that want to make content creation a full-time job, or you want to make a living out of it, then maybe you should listen to a little bit more of what I'm saying. And so here's the thing about content creation and creating content for brands that want to work with you. Okay. To put into perspective, a lot of these brands that reach out in the first place is because they're taking a part of their marketing budget and putting it towards influencers and creators. The thing that's happening nowadays is that a lot of the brands are paying creators to make content for them. So this is the user-generated content so that they can use that as their advertisements. And it's been way more useful than having influencer likeness, I guess, like using influencers and posting it on their feed. And although that does actually bring a lot of benefits, I want to talk about like the differences. Okay, so UGC versus influencer partnership are two different partnerships in general. Okay, UGC is again user generated content where these brands hire the content creators or influencers to create content for them so that they can get the video and run that as ads. Okay, that's UGC. Influencer partnership is when they ask you, hey, create the video and post it on your account. So it's basically having to do with affiliation and likeness. Influencer partnership, I realized, actually helps in a lot of different ways. Number one, obviously it does bring attention and, views to whatever product that you're using. So for example, a skincare creator can, be sponsored a certain skincare product and brands would love it because they're like, okay, a lot of people liked it. A lot of people actually went to the website and they bought something out of that. Number one, it's really hard to calculate. I would say it's pretty hard to calculate like ROAS for brands. So ROAS is return on ad spend. So it's however much money you spent on ads, how much are you getting that back in return? And so for a lot of the brands, it's actually really hard to calculate what that ROAS is, but you're paying not for the ROAS in particular, not directly, but they're paying for the affiliation. And so you'll see, I don't know if you guys see like Nicki Minaj, right? She has been posting Korean skincare products on TikTok, and it's crazy, by the way. She doesn't just post it. She gets paid for those, and a lot of money. a lot of money for a 30-second video. And I'm talking north of, like, we're going into the millions, right? For how much he charges for one TikTok video. It's absolutely insane. But do you think brands are paying Nicki Minaj for that Korean skincare product because they, in hopes that, they can all go to the website and buy the product? Not particularly. One thing, it's actually for the affiliation. Because once they have the affiliation with a certain creator, so let's say Nicki Minaj, what happens? She gets affiliated with a certain brand, and the brands are like, okay, we've worked with this celebrity, celebrity A, celebrity B, celebrity C. And now they can use that as a leverage because now they're like, okay, used by certain celebrities. Now they have the influence over the people that follow those celebrities. And now they want to try the product themselves. That's the beauty in influencer partnership. And so there really are two ways of going about this if you're a content creator. If you're a UGC, the number one thing that you do need to worry about is obviously the usage plan. If you decide to do perpetual means forever, right? First of all, you better make sure that the money that you're receiving is worth it, okay? If you're only receiving like $500, $700 for a perpetual use, your content is going to be used forever by the brand and you don't have anything to say about that. So the usage rates should be timed by the duration. So whether that be in industry standard, it's about 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, or even a year. It goes up to that point. Perpetual use, I would say you got to charge it up like crazy if you really want to sell your perpetual rights for a certain video. Because a lot of the times what happens is the brands, they're basically just going to use your use your videos as ads, and they can do whatever they want, right? Like they can post it onto Instagram, they can post it onto, Facebook, Twitter, X, any social media platform, and run it as ads, and you don't have anything to say about it. So make sure that it is worth the money that you're receiving. And so let me go into the perspective of the brand side a little bit. So for the brand owners that want to start, using influencers as a part of their marketing plan, here's something that I want you to think about, right? A lot of the influencers and creators are being paid to create a video, being paid to script, they're being paid to write, they're being paid to film, edit, everything of that in general. And so when they're trying to work with the creators in general, you have to think to yourself, okay, what makes this creator or influencer worth it? What have they shown that actually proves to be beneficial for the brand or company? Because if you're just trying to work with influencers for the sake of working with influencers because you're like, okay, I've done influencer marketing, you're going to fail your entire campaign. And the one thing that I always tell brands when they want to work with me is, hey, I would love if, that one-off post could actually return dividends. And here's the thing, one-offs I would say work better with bigger creators, but not with smaller creators. With smaller creators, you actually want to work with them on a multiple video basis, because once the audience that looks at that influencer constantly sees a certain brand being promoted on their channel, all of a sudden they're going to think like, okay, maybe this brand actually does help or, work in a certain way. Again, I keep using skincare, but let's say like a skincare influencer uses this product for 4 videos in the entire month. What's going to happen is that the audience is going to be, linked onto that name, whatever that brand name is, and they're going to be curious. And once they're curious, they're going to consider it. And then once they consider it, they might even consider purchasing it. So you see how this loop kind of forms? I want a lot of the brand owners to think about that, because I think they fail to understand that influencer marketing is not just a way of marketing your things, but it's also a way to showcase how valuable your product or service is. And that's something that I'm learning a little bit more. when I was running my influencer marketing agency, man, like when I was just starting out, I remember I was working with brands for free because I had no case studies, I had nothing to show for, and I was like, you know what? Let me just work for free. I will get you guys the creators, I will get you guys whoever you want, and just pay the creator price, and that's it. I remember when I was working with a lot of the brands, what would happen is that they work with this one creator, and they're like, okay, this creator is pretty expensive, and I'm like, well, yeah, they're pretty expensive, but you know, maybe you should try, working with them on multiple videos to see if you can get the cost per video down. And they're like, no, no, no. I'm just gonna work with them for one video. Let's see how that one goes. Okay. And I was like, okay, sure, no problem. And so that one creator created the video and it posted, and it absolutely flopped. Right? It didn't do well. It got low amount of views, no engagement. It got barely any link clicks, and the brand was like, okay, what happened here? The creator didn't, make a good video. It's the creator that you provided, and now we don't want to work with you. With me. And I was like, what the heck? I literally told you that that you should work with multiple videos because you're banking everything on one basket. One video. You're banking everything on one video to do well. I was like, what the heck? That's not fair. That's not fair to me. But the one thing that I learned from that was, okay, even if they want something, maybe it's my job to make sure the campaign is a success. So I try to give them a bunch of ideas, whether that's for the scripting process, whether that's for who we should pick as a creator. Maybe I should be more involved in that. And that completely changed the business. Because I was like, okay, if I were to do this, how can I deem myself valuable to the company? And so I studied. I studied how creators got followers, how creators got engagements, how creators were able to create a cult-like audience. And I studied all of them. Not only did I study them, I talked to them. I talked to them about strategies, about how they grew their accounts, how they were able to go from 5,000 followers all the way to 30,000 followers. I was able to talk to creators that were creating content for their own businesses and talking about how they were able to get their money. And I was like, okay, let me find a common theme here. And so I was like, okay, I was doing this entirely wrong. And so when you're a creator or influencer, you might think, okay, working with influencer marketing agencies, I've had really bad experiences with them. And I think the reason why you have bad experiences with them is because they don't have a set standard of operation that actually helps you to become who you are as a creator. That's what I noticed. Because that's what I was doing when I first started my agency. When I first started my agency, a lot of the creators came and went. And in retrospect, I was like, okay, it's fine. I don't want to work with them anyways. I was like, I don't want to work with them anyways. You can leave. But I was like, okay, no, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back and really think about why they decided to leave. And as I was thinking, I was like, oh, wait. I was just using them, using them is a kind of a crazy term, but I was just working with them for the sake of money. There was no help them with their content. There was no help them script out. There was no help them schedule things, make calendars for them. It was just, here's a brand deal. You take it. I take a percentage. Cool. That's it. And I think that's what a lot of agencies still do today. And I was thinking, as a small agency, I was like, okay, how can I create a foundation that not only wants to work with creators, but also have creators want to work with me? Because let's be real, if I bring a content creator a brand deal, they're most likely going to take it. Because it's like a couple $100 or even $1,000 or even more. And they're like, okay, I want to work with this person or this agency because they brought me a brand deal. And then our relationship just becomes very transactional. I was like, okay, what if I can kind of build more of a relationship? Build more onto what we have other than just the brand deals. Maybe what if for Thanksgiving or Christmas I write them a handwritten note saying thank you so much for being one of the creators at Trukama. Then maybe life could be a little bit different in the business. And so the number one thing that I decided was, okay, I recognize this. I see where this is going. Let me fix this. And so when agencies work with creators, not only will it just be a transactional business, but also a partnership. And that's the one thing that I wanted to tell a lot of the creators here is if you're looking to work with agencies, think about why you want to work with them in the first place. They're going to tell you all this stuff. They're going to tell you, we're going to bring more brand deals to you. We're going to take care of your scheduling calendar. But are they genuinely making a connection with you to create this partnership and let it flourish? That's what you should ask yourself. And a lot of the brands or companies, I think they have a stigmatism against working with agencies, influencer marketing agencies. And rightfully so. I think a lot of the agencies in the industry have caused a very negative connotation to what agencies are actually there for. But if you look at the top tier agencies that are out there, they're not just another, friction to get to the creator. They're actually a partner. And what happens in a partnership is if something stops working, or if something isn't, if a video isn't doing too well, it's not just, hey, I'm the agency, so just pay me for the video and then let's go on with our way. It's more like, hey, I think this video flopped, so how can we create a better video for the next time that we create something? And then the agency comes in and be like, okay, we have all these data points. I want to be able to help you in this way. Let us script out something or a content brief that you might be interested in. Now that's a partnership. And a lot of the brand owners, I want you to think about it this way. Hey, working with agencies can actually save a lot of your time because number one, if you want to work with multiple creators, the agency could handle that. They can just handle talking to the creators, and all you got to do is just, hey, agency, here's my money, go spend it, and go get me the creators. And you don't need to manage anything with the creators. You don't need to do anything in terms of wanting to, work with 15 different creators and making sure you have 15 different contracts and then making sure all the videos are posted on the same time or all the deliverables or the drafts are ready to go. You don't need to worry about anything like that. And I think that's the beauty in agency working. So I want a lot of the creators that are listening into this podcast right now, think about this. Maybe it's just as important it is to promote yourself as it is to create good content for yourself. Because something that I noticed is that a lot of the content creators that I've worked with in the past have about 25,000 followers, 50,000 followers, and they think follower count is everything. So they rate themselves based on how many followers they have. And the way you got that 50,000 followers might have been, oh, I got a really viral video that got 1 million views and it got me about 10,000 followers. And I'm like, okay, so then what next? What did you do after that? And they're all like, I don't know. I mean, I just continue making video. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But you got to niche your audience to the point where you make a cult-like audience. If you look at some of the best creators out there, they have a crazy following. And do you know why? It's because they have an amazing storytelling. They tell the people that are listening to them about their personality. They tell them about their life. They tell them about what they're going to do next. They talk to them about, content creation in general. They start becoming vulnerable. And so I don't know if you've seen a lot of those mukbang videos. The reason why they have a cult like following is because they watch them for one reason, is to watch them eat. And so think about the type of content that you're creating. Are you creating just lifestyle vloggy content just for the sake of creating content? Or is it for the sake of relating to the audience? I think there's a big difference in that. If you're able to crack the code in terms of how can I connect my story with their story so that when they watch it for the entertainment value of it. If you can crack that code down, you've won. You've won social media, and there's nothing else that I can tell you that would be helpful. So I want you to think about that in a general sense the next time you create content and see how you can actually improve, your relationships with your brands, because a lot of the brands that work with creators and content creators, influencers, is how they're able to tell a story. Because if you can tell your own story, you can tell the brand's story as well. And boom, that's the secret. That's the code. That's everything that you need to know about this industry. And so that's exactly all that I wanted to talk about today. I think this was a pretty valuable talk. And so if you wanted to listen to more of this, I'm going to be coming out with an episode every single week. Next week, I'm going to be bringing on a lot of the guests. And so stay tuned for that. I'm going to bring on creators. I'm going to bring on influencers. I'm going to bring on brand owners, people that work in big companies and they're influencer marketing agencies. And we're even not even just agencies in general, but maybe working at like big brands like HelloFresh, Skin 1004, a lot of the Korean skincare brands. Maybe I can invite them as well to this podcast and kind of talk to you a little more about the creator economy. So if you found this podcast useful and fun to listen to, do whatever you want to do. You can follow it, do whatever you want. But I just make this for me and for the guests that I bring on. So thank you guys so much for watching. Super excited to bring on more content every single week.